And welcome into another episode of the Outsider Sports Hockey Podcast. Ben Mandel and Mikey D back at it. Tom is back safely from Italy, but he's resting up. A lot of jet lag, you know how it is. But Mikey D and I know the real reason he's not on the show today.
Yeah,
It is because his New York Rangers took a pretty tough loss. And now, that, in all fairness to Tom, that isn't the real reason why he's not on. You know he would want to be on here defending his Rangers, but also, I mean, Tom did pick the Devils to win this series, so it's not like he's someone who's going to be a sore loser. He was very good throughout the series. Not as much hate as we thought. Part of it's he was in Italy, but we definitely saw a really good series though. And 2 games in, when we last recorded an episode, or when we recorded like the first episode of the playoffs, the Devils were down a game already. We recorded the last episode, it was 2-2. Devils go out and dominate and win game 5 at home. Rangers go out and I was going to say dominate and win game 6 at home, but they didn't. The Devils dominated the first 15 minutes of that game. Penalties took them out of it. The Rangers got a power play goal. They were able to build a little bit of momentum. And then once the Devils had to start chasing the game, that's really when things started to fall apart. But when you look at the way the Devils played after game 2, game 3, they survived. Game 4, they started to take control. And from that point on, they found themselves and they knew how to beat this Ranger team. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, 100%, Ben. It was like it was literally perfection, like a storyline to an extent about how the Devils competed in this series and how it went from really bad. They literally took the expression of, we can only go so far, far down from here, and it's only up from here is what I mean to say. And that's literally what the Devils did after games 1 and 2, because we saw how, the nerves are there and how off state they look. They did not look like the team that we saw all regular season. They just looked completely different. And then when game 3, when they finally just found a way to win the game, and through a gritty game in which the Rangers could have won themselves if it wasn't for a bunch of missed opportunities, they took advantage of that and ran away with it. Game 4, they cleaned things up. They won a game, not convincingly, but they got it done. On the road once again, and then obviously game 5, they just took complete control. Game 6, they took control, but a lot of penalties and unfortunate situations cost them. A lot of turnovers in their own defensive zone. And then obviously we saw game 7, they just it wasn't even remotely close. My favorite thing to bring up, Tom Hayes, is the win-o-meter, man, that we see on Twitter, everything like that. They have 1,000 simulations, after the game is played, and if there's any chance of each team, winning after 1,000 simulations, obviously. And the Devils had a 91% chance to win that game yesterday, no matter all those simulations. So it was a complete domination, and I couldn't be more proud of this team, because I know I am the one who picked the Rangers to win 7. I thought their experience and the veteran status and obviously getting the experience and the rings that they got would be the advantage for them. But man, the Devils took the veteran status and the rings that they got over in the offseason and compared to playoff Palat, because God, he's been great. Hala has been awesome, and they really stepped up, and they made the younger guys have to step up as well. And we saw that, we talked about it last podcast, Jack Hughes is something to be excited about for a long time to come for this Devils team, because he shows up game in and game out. And everyone questioned, saying, how is he going to be in the playoffs? Is he going to be as good as he is in the regular season? And man, he is just as good, if not better.
I'll tell you what, Andre Palat, and you could say playoff Palat. I really just thought we only saw game 7 Palat in this series. I didn't think he was what I was expecting. But boy, oh boy, did he show up in the biggest game of the year. That was by far and away his best game as a Devil. I know he had a couple of moments in the regular season where you said, this is why you got Palat. But that moment right there, it's 4-on-4, it expires into a Ranger power play. Palat is able to force a turnover from the best defenseman and puck-moving defenseman, not only on the Rangers, but arguably in the league, in Adam Fox. Then he's able to hound Chris Kreider, pry the puck away from him, not once having control of it, and then fight through those two along with a third Ranger before sliding the puck underneath another guy to Michael McLeod, who had one of the best finishes I have seen what a goal from Michael McLeod, but what a game from Andre Palat. He also is the reason why Eric Halla's goal happened, was because Palat was able to tie up on the wall, free the puck for Jack, who just flew up the ice with Halla and was able to get that goal.
Game 7 is all about like unsung heroes, right? So it's just like it was crazy to see Mikey McLeod be the one to start finally get that game going, because it looked like the Devils had so many chances. Obviously, Igor Shesterkin being the brick wall that he is, and it's a shame that for so long that the Rangers have had a goalie, a franchise goalie for so long, and they just can't find to get over the hump. And it's not abashed, they obviously Igor is the reason why the Rangers were in that series to begin with. He had 11 goals above expectancy save expectancy in that series. So he was doing the most. So if you look at the games that, where the Devils even dominated, like Igor kept those games from being absolutely a bloodbath. So, they got to get, it seems like he has all the help around the world, on that team, like all the talent that they have. But, maybe it is the coaching, maybe it's the scheme, who knows? Because, Igor is doing everything he can, being that goalie, and the Rangers still can't find a way to get over that hump.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to look at what the Rangers are going through goaltending wise, right? Because I was actually talking about it with a few Ranger fans at Game 6 on Saturday night at Madison Square Garden, and think about it. With you throw Igor like the next 15 years, right? Let's say Igor's the guy. This franchise has gone from Richter to Lundqvist to Igor. I mean, talk about a run of goalies. Franchises don't get that, and that's what the Rangers have had. And they just don't have the cups to show for it. 94, but that's it. And really just interesting, to say the least. Now, I do have to say a funny story, and I'll get to it in a second, but Mikey D, second Devils goal. And second player, unsung hero per se.
Unbelievable.
I want to highlight.
Unbelievable.
You know who I'm talking about.
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino.
Where did that come from? Where the hell did that come from?
You keep calling this guy the greatest quarterback in Miami Dolphins history? John Marino.
I'm losing my mind. John Marino.
You did this to me on Saturday too.
I did.
John Marino. Unbelievable game. He starts this game off with an incredible defensive play on Mika Zibanejad on a 2-on-1. He had a fantastic game in the back end. John Marino has been so steady, so good, moving the puck. He's been fueling the transition game. Not only that, but he's been jumping in on the rush. He decides to cut towards the net, fake his way towards the goal, and through 4 Ranger defensemen before backhanding a puck wide. Then an unreal no-look pass to Tomas Tatar in front of the net for the second goal of this game. What a goal. What are your thoughts on John Marino?
I gotta ask you, Ben, right back at you. I got a question right back. Do you think that getting John Marino, sorry, Dan, I keep getting the wrong Marino out here. I mean, you are the GOAT, John, but, obviously Dan is first. But do you think that this trade from the Penguins, obviously getting rid of Tyler Smith to get John Marino, do you think that is probably one of the best trades in Devils history, but the way that he's played this year? I know it's just 1 year, I understand, but just the impact immediately that he has made on the defensive side, I think is the bottom 6 for the Devils team. Do you think it's one of the top trades in the Devils history that we have seen?
I think it's up there. I think it's definitely, obviously it's hard to say one of the best in franchise history, right? But in terms of
in our modern era, how about that? I mean,
it's certainly one of the. Look, you can put it on par with the Adam Larson Taylor Hall trade, I think, at this point, because you got one good year out of Taylor Hall, you've gotten one great defensive season out of John Marino so far. Now, Marino, fantastic player, but I do have to say this because while I'm walking into MSG on Saturday, I see a guy standing outside one of the entrances, black quarter zip, smoking a Black and Mild. And he's like, he sees us in the Devils jerseys and he's like pumping his fist. He's like, yeah. And then he waves us over. Now, Mikey D, I know walking up to some guy smoking outside of MSG who waves you over isn't necessarily the best idea, but I went over and said, hey.
Seems sketchy.
Yeah. Well, he said, yeah, go Devils. He's like, my son plays for the team. He's number 6. I'm like, oh, John Marino, no way. So we start talking, right? And he is just going off on the Penguins. He is going in on the Penguins. And I told him, I was like, oh, I was in Wilkes-Barre last year. I saw Hexenberg came by a couple times. I've gotten to meet him, and he had some fantastic, fantastic stories about the old regime over there in Pittsburgh. Needless to say, there are some people that are very happy and were perhaps mistreated over there by the Hextall Burke regime. And, one thing we really did agree on, those guys ruined P.O. Joseph.
Mm.
But John Marino's dad.
I heard that.
John Marino's dad, what a guy.
That's just an awesome experience. I mean, I can't even get his son's name right half the time. I mean, I could be stupid, Ben, but yeah, that's just awesome to see. I mean, you go into a game, you already have good experience, and then you get to see one of definitely a game-changing player in John Marino's father just hanging out smoking a black and mild outside of MSG. You don't get to see that very often.
It was so funny. He's just sitting there ripping a black and mild, and I think that's what made it more just wait, and I saw the resemblance. That's why I didn't even question it. I knew it was his dad. And the black quarter zip had a Black Devils logo on it. So he was over by like one of those private entrances. It was just really funny. And I was with Corey Jason over from Outsider Sports Football and Baseball. And that was his one reaction as we walked away. He goes, "Do you see he was smoking a black and mild?"
That's amazing. Just the cherry on top to that story. It really is.
Like that's his one takeaway there. It was so just peculiar, but so funny. Hats off to you. If Mr. Marino or John, you end up hearing this, just know we're big fans of you. We're happy you're in Jersey. But we are going to shift over into this series now for the Devils and into this round 2 series with the Carolina Hurricanes. It's not going to be an easy matchup. The Hurricanes won the Metropolitan for a reason. But, Mike, what happened in that Carolina Islanders series, and what necessarily makes you feel good heading into this series if you're a Devils fan?
Yeah, I know it's going to be an absolute negative thing because I don't wish this on anybody, obviously, because and everything like that. But I think it's just a lack of depth in Carolina right now, due to the unfortunate injuries and everything that they've been going through, from the end of the season and into now into the playoffs. They are not at full strength, and as a Devils fan, that can make you happy, but it also at the same time can make sure that these guys as our Devils are not too high, coming off this huge series win against the Rangers, who's a great team, and then now you're going against a Carolina team that you honestly are better than and should be better than, due to the circumstances. But what we saw in that Islanders and Carolina Hurricane series, is that the Islanders gave everything they got, and at the same time, there was plenty of games that we both probably can agree on, Ben, that the Islanders should have won if it wasn't for a few missed tic-tac calls and especially just the way that the series ended in overtime, kind of like a blue line shot from the side of the glass. It was an unreal shot. The Islanders were in that series from start to finish, despite the it being 4-2. It just makes me confident that I think that the Devils, from what we saw in the Rangers series as well, is that they can skate with just about anybody. They could be just as fast, if not faster, than this Carolina team. That's what they're known for. So I just think that the Devils can use their speed and this momentum to definitely take this series to their advantage, but they can't take them lightly. That's the only thing that I got to say. But they should definitely pull out this series without any issues, as long as they don't play down to Carolina. Despite how good they are better than them.
I agree. I think the biggest thing to look at when you look at this matchup is the depth. Carolina doesn't have it anymore with the Svechnikov injury, the Pacioretty injury. It's just too much for them to overcome. I know they were able to find scoring in some depth places, but Sebastian Aho really carried them and scored in a lot of the big moments. I also don't see it. I think that the Devils are going to ultimately come away with a win in this series. I have the Devils taking it in 6 games. They will win it on home ice once again. Mikey D, I know that you have the New Jersey Devils winning this one in 7. Mm-hmm. Tom Leone has the Devils winning in 6 as well. New to Outsider Sports is Parker Dorsey. He has Carolina winning in 6. And Ariana Ferris has Carolina winning in 6 as well. On to the next series. We head to the West. First series, we'll talk about the Dallas Stars and Seattle Kraken. And I know that Colorado might have been more exciting on the surface, but I think this might be the most intriguing series because you have Dallas, who I have talked about being one of the most complete teams in the Central. It might even be in the West. And Seattle, who might have looked like the best team in round one. If it wasn't for star power and Jared Bednar's coaching, Colorado probably loses that series in 5 games, I think.
I agree with you, and I think I was just about to say before you did. This series is it's just amazing that this new franchise in Seattle. It's kind of like I'm rooting for them. It's like my second favorite team right now. I get all jittery when I talk about them. I don't know why. They're so exciting, and that series against Colorado just proved it. It's kind of cool always just seeing, a new franchise and seeing what they're capable of. And Seattle proves, exactly what they're capable of against Colorado. And like you said, this is the most complete team, this Dallas team that I've been defending, for weeks on end on this podcast, saying how good they are and how, overlooked they are against this most entertaining team in Seattle. And I'm very looking forward to this series. I think it's going to be a great one. I do think that Dallas does get the upper hand in this series because of that star power, and Seattle, obviously we're still as good as they were in that first round. We still don't know exactly what they're capable of doing. I'm not gonna not give them props. The win against Colorado is absolutely massive. Those are the defending champions. I gotta give them respect. But at the same time, I think this is Dallas's time. I think they, like you said, they're just so complete compared to Seattle. And but Seattle's gonna give them a run for their money. I can bet that.
Yeah, I think that Seattle is definitely a team that's proven. I think they proved in that first round by knocking off the defending champs that this group can go out there, win hockey games, and play really good, smart hockey. Philip Grubauer was outstanding in that Colorado series. And now I know last time we talked in the pod, we were talking about goaltending costing it for Colorado. I really don't think it did. I thought Alexander Georgiev was fantastic. I thought he kept the Avalanche in a lot of games, and the reason why they won Game 6. So really, just injuries ended up being too much to overcome. And Seattle is just a good hockey team. Parity is really there in the National Hockey League. Now, for this series, I have the Dallas Stars winning this in 6. I think Seattle, while yeah, they look good, I don't know how long they can keep it up. Mike, I know you have Dallas also winning this one in 6. Over to Tom Leone. He has the Dallas Stars winning in 6 as well. Parker Dorsey, Dallas in 6. And then Ariana Ferris is taking the Dallas Stars over Seattle in 7. So all of us taking Dallas, but all but one of us taking Dallas in 6. So it looks like Seattle, they'll be able to pull out a few wins, but it'll be an interesting series. Other series in the East, it is the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers. Toronto, they finally expel those demons of the first round. They get that elusive 4th win in the first round by beating the Tampa Bay Lightning down in Amalie Arena, winning all 3 of those games in Tampa Bay in overtime, really showing the grit and resolve, especially after just getting smoked in Game 1. And then you go to the Florida Panthers, talk about a team that needed some grit and resolve. They went out, they beat the Boston Bruins, the best team in regular season history, 3 games in a row. And, this team is flying high. Matthew Tkachuk has just taken them and willed them through that Boston series. He said he was going to get them there. He said he was going to take them there. He's elevating his game to new heights, and it's so exciting to see what's going to give. Which story is going to crack? Because, you feel like maybe Toronto's playing with house money because the expectation was, hey, just get me out of the first round. But then you have Florida, on the other hand, who now they look really hot.
Yeah, 100%, Ben. I was literally about to say you're perfect on the storylines here, man. I was just going to make a joke here because I am a Dallas Cowboys fan, people, and I hate it. But even the Dallas Cowboys win a first round playoff game every once in a while, but we all know what happens in the second round, right? So there's my joke for the day. I'm miserable. I'm not saying Toronto fans should be miserable because this team is very good and they could be the difference for once. But like you said, Matthew Tkachuk and this Panthers team, man, they just look on a whole different level. I know, 3-1 is, this is a very uncommon thing in a series. We just saw it last year with the Rangers against the Penguins, and then we saw what happened. The Rangers were on their run; they made it to the conference finals, and this is kind of something I can see with this Panthers team. They got the talent to do it, and Tkachuk is just leading the way. He is the best American-born player in the league right now. He's in like his prime. He's unbelievable, and he is taking this team to new heights. And now for Toronto, obviously they got over the hump. They could take a deep breath. They got out of the first round finally, especially against a team that they got revenge on from last year in Tampa. But this Panthers team, like you said, I just think they got hot at the right time. And when a team gets hot, especially in NHL playoffs where anything is possible, I just think they get the upper hand in this series. I know you're about to announce who we're picking eventually, but yeah, I got the Panthers winning this series in 7. I think they definitely could. They're going to take that momentum and continue to stay hot. And I think Toronto, they got their fresh breath and they had their big moment already. And that's sad to say because this team is so good, but now the Panthers are going to take advantage.
It is really about like taking advantage of the right times. I think it's both of these teams that should have opportunities that they're trying to take advantage of. For the Florida Panthers, why not, right? You were a wild card team. You just knocked off the Bruins. Why not make a run here? For the Toronto Maple Leafs, you have to take advantage of the fact that you are not seeing the top seed in your division for the first time. Like, you are not dealing with a juggernaut of a team. There is zero excuse for Toronto to lose this series. I know it may look like, oh, hey, they're out of the first round. Who cares? No, this is a win the cup. Toronto fans are sitting there running around with shirts that say cup bound. This is a franchise and a fan base that is expecting to win the cup. Toronto needs to go out there and win it. Now, I have the Maple Leafs winning this series in 7 games. Mikey D, I know that you are all in on the Florida Panthers, baby. You have Florida taking this in 7. Over to Tom Leone. He has Toronto in 7. Parker Dorsey taking the Cats. Florida Panthers in 7 games as well. Ariana Ferris, also Toronto in 7. All of us see this series going the distance. Last series to talk about, though, and this might be the most fireworks. You have the Edmonton Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights. I know Vegas may not have the firepower to match up with Edmonton, but they were easily the most dominant team in round 1. And they weren't the team with McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl, by the way, with a ridiculous first round, scoring 7 goals. Mike, I know you've been all over Draisaitl. You've been loving it even more than McDavid. What are your thoughts on this series, and what are we looking at here? Could this be the best series in the West and perhaps the real Western Conference final?
Yeah, I think it's one of those, definitely. I just think that, these two teams are very star powered and it's going to be exciting to see. We're just getting a bunch of big names, left and right for between Edmonton and also on Vegas. And I completely agree with you when it comes to Vegas here. I think they're like a tad overlooked. I just, they have a very complete team as well. And obviously Edmonton has the star power, and that's what makes them deadlies and somewhat of a slight favorite in this series as well, because between the Toronto and Edmonton, everyone's so excited over there on that side of things. But at the same time, I think that Vegas is they're very competitive. Like you said, they dominated that first round. Out of all the series in the first round, Vegas took care of business. They've been rested, they're ready to go, and they got to study Edmonton because they had to go extra games than they did. So I think it's going to be a very close series. It's going to be very fun, very exciting. A lot of goals, man. I would take the over in every single one of these games. I think there's going to be a lot of that star power showing. But yeah, it's definitely probably this should be the Western Conference Finals to an extent, because obviously the Seattle and Dallas matchup is very exciting too. I'm so excited to see that. And as complete as those teams are, I just think these two teams are definitely the best in the West. It's a shame that they get to play in the second round, but that's how the playoff format goes. And I'm just I'm excited to see how it comes down to. Definitely can see the series come down to the wire in a Game 7 as well.
Yeah, and some people may be upset that we're not going to see the Jonathan Quick Los Angeles redemption story with Edmonton's rise late. But I'll tell you what, this is going to be a fantastic series, and goaltending is going to be a question. Laurent Brossoit has been the guy getting the nod for Vegas. He looked good and serviceable in the first round. Is that going to be enough against Edmonton? I don't think so. Now, I have the Edmonton Oilers winning this in 7 games. I think Bruce Cassidy's going to have the Vegas Golden Knights fight down to the wire and claw, but Edmonton is just going to be too much. Mike, you have Vegas in 7. Tom Leone is going with the Vegas Golden Knights in 7. What a shocker. We're agreeing once again. Here, Parker Dorsey is going with the Edmonton Oilers in 5 games. And we see Ariana Ferris going with Edmonton in 6. It's really going to be an interesting second round. I always say that for all sports, the second round is usually the best round and the best time to watch. This is when you have 2 games a night, 1 game going on at a time. You could focus on one, and these are usually the best games you'll see. The competition has been taken off. Usually the teams, the posers, they've been eliminated. These are the best. These are the hottest teams. This is where you get the best hockey. Round 2 of the playoffs. Cannot wait. Outsider Sports is going to continue bringing you playoff hockey coverage over on TikTok. Make sure you check us out by searching Outsider Sports. We have game reaction videos going up. Mikey D might be making the trip down to Carolina. Go follow the TikTok to see if he does and he makes it down there. We're also going to be having more blogs up on the website. Check out outsidersports.net, where we have football and baseball blogs up as well. Check out our other podcast, the Outsider Sports Football and Baseball Podcast, up on YouTube and Spotify. And we appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you tune in to next week's episode as well. And keep it locked for next week and the NHL playoffs.